easier battle for me to have trust our capacity, and we have determined that comes October 2029, change is going to come to
Liberia. Great speaking.
For me, the most difficult task was to be a representative. That is difficult because I was elected in one of the most difficult places for a Madigo man to win election. But the people of that district have done something very great. We probably don't know a lot about that particular district, but I will tell you something about it. You may know that in modern history of Nimba, the Prince Ward Johnson the late was the most popular politician in the recent history of Nimba County. But he was not able to win a seat in that district. For the 4 elections that took place, that district started as a Unity Party district until we took it from them. It is evenly divided between the 2 large tribes of Nimba, and that makes it even more complicated. But what those people did, for me, it will shape my politics for the rest of my life. And I can never, no matter how far I go, I can never forget that. But then, it's not a history that I want to repeat. It's a history that I see an opportunity in. I believe that there is no one more qualified in Liberia today, those who are running for president, than myself. The only thing that could stop me or could not stop me in that district. The history of the war could have stopped me, because during that election, people took TV and carried to villages and said to people that if I were elected, I was going to revenge, I was going to bring war, and the people did not listen. And for me, as an opportunist, I asked myself, can I reform? Can I help to reform the country? And so I went in the legislature. And I said, having read about the legislature, having read our constitution, it is the most powerful organ of our governing system. It has more power than you can imagine. It has absolute power over the budget. It can remove the president. It can remove anybody from office. So I determined that this is the point of reform. I mean, if this body is this powerful, then it's better to use that power to reform Liberia. But little did I know that that institution is actually what is wrong with Liberia. It is where the resources of the country is being abused in ways that you cannot imagine. It is where for 6 years, 103 individuals consumed 372 million United States dollars. It is where for 2 years, 2024 and 2025, Liberia has expended $1.6 billion without any show since the Unity Party came into power. That body has approved 2 budgets totaling $1.6 billion United States dollars. It is where people feel entitled, and it is where you are told by your colleagues that you will never get to audit this place. It is where your friends look you in your eyes and say to you that here, when the money comes here, it's for us to eat it. It's not for anything else. And so, where I went and hoped that I could change the country, I realized that that's the place that actually needed a change. So here we are, having spoken to a lot of Liberians, having looked around. I thought that we needed something different. We needed something new. And we formed the CMC. A very tough decision, but I am convinced, and I will say this to Liberians, if we don't make the right decision, if we ever made a decision that takes us back to any of the road that we've been on in the last 20 years, our country is going to go into chaos. It is not a hard decision this time around, because you know the records of the people. If you voted for the Unity Party, by now you know what they are capable of doing, you know what they cannot do. So that's not a big guess. If you voted for the CDC, you know what they are capable of doing, you know what they cannot do. The choice for Liberia today is whether or not we Liberians see what is wrong with our country and whether or not we are prepared to chart a new course. I don't see that as a very difficult decision. For us, getting the right people as parliamentarians, getting the right senators, getting the right representatives, getting an economic policy that does not put the economy in foreign hands, that does not see a Liberian entrepreneur who makes money and decides the bulk of what I'm going to make I will give back to the people, and then those people who have used $1.6 billion in 24 months comes and say, oh, this guy makes $10 million every year, and because he makes that money and put it in a business, that's the reason why this country is not developed. We gotta take that money from him. That, for me, that is being, in economics, you call that expropriation. That's the kind of country you have behind you. People are so embodied that if you go to their own people and say, oh, this guy is from this district, but the country is bad, the man fights you for trying to change his people's life. If you go to Bon County and see that the senator who has been sitting down over Ways and Means, and if you don't know, Ways and Means is the committee that appropriates money for every branch of the government. The senator who sits there cannot even fix his county, is aggravated and say, oh, you know what making Bility frisky is because he's making more money, and so since he is in the legislature, so we are not able to do in the legislature, we'll go and tell the president, you need to shut Bility business down because he has started doing things for our people, and that is going to hurt our chances of winning. That's the Liberia that you have left behind. But then, if I told you that I was not aware of what was ahead, then you will begin to question my capacity. I'm aware. I'm very much aware of what this will require. What I know as I move through the country, Liberia, Western Liberia, Central Liberia, Northern Liberia, the people have already decided that they will not, and I say this for the record, the Liberian people will not re-elect the Unity Party. And I'm sorry if you are in this room and you are Unity Party, you are forgive me. But that party will not be re-elected. And it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with finance. They have violated every principle of our laws. They have abused that country. And there is no regard for human rights. There's no regard for rule of law. There's no regard for fiscal discipline. And the country is just in a free fall. But the irony is that they actually believe that they're doing very well. I mean, when I hear Unity Party people talking on air, I most of the time I ask, I wonder if we are all from the same country. So we're here tonight to speak to you about CMC, about Musa Bility, about anything. And there's no limit to the question. Don't make sure that you don't insult me. For any question you have, I will answer it. To be a leader. And that's another thing. These two parties, none of them ever want to face the Liberian people. When United Party was extending on CDC mode that nowhere can have press conference, one would think that they will use that as guidance. It's 20 months. Joseph Baga has never had a single press conference. If party were to be born by human beings, I can put my neck on the check to go down. See here, and in that description, the party is worse. Far worse. Because these are people who claim to have experience in government. They have a president with 42 years experience and during the election. I ask this question. You can have 42 years experience, but you should ask a question, were those experience in any way helpful to the country? Has Liberia benefited from any 42-year experience? But we Nigerians, unfortunately, whether educated or not, when it comes to making political decisions, we bury our heads in the sand. And